Hi everyone, I'm back again, and it's such a pleasure to be here every week. Got something special for you today, by the way, which is going to be kind of interesting. But first, I had a confliction in my mind about whether I should sue or not, because San Francisco has been using my name, Marion, and there's a city now named Marion. I didn't give them permission, but then I looked back and I found out that this Marion existed way before I was born, so I guess I can't sue them after all. But I thought I'd try. Anyway, yeah, my name was here in a paper that came out not yesterday or the day before yesterday, but in 1923. I have a Monday selection of the paper and a Wednesday selection of the paper. And what I want to do is, and this will really be of interest to you, read different articles of things that happened in that day, which is pretty awesome, Let me show you one of the headlines here that I have, and that is this right here. I'll show you on the camera. There we go. Take a peek at that. Right there. Capitol throngs honor Harding. President's widow bears up bravely at funeral. Pretty awesome to come across this paper way back 1923, and I have a Monday and a Wednesday issue, and it'll really be interesting for me to show you some of the articles that appear in here. Maybe first, like I do with the other paper, I go to the Funnies, and I'll go over here and grab the Funnies and show you what that's all about here. All righty. Okay. All right, here we have the funny papers. And if you can look closely, there it is. There you go, all the way down. And now that you see this, let me read some of it to you, because it's kind of interesting, reading these things. My gosh, it's way back in 1923. And that was way before any of us around here were born. But this one particular funny right here has this picture of a person knocking a cow off of the tracks. And he's saying, Quinty Hewitt's cow went to sleep on the track west of town today, holding up the fast mail 20 minutes. Outside of being badly fingerprinted, the cow was practically unhurt. And it shows the cow there being pushed off the tracks right there. And then let's go to another part here that looks a lot like our comics from today, kind of like a Mutt and Jeff type of thing. The name that's kind of old. But this one has this guy saying, holy mackerel, my horse nearly won a race. Oh, it's at the jockeys that are so good you could ride better than any of them. Then a guy runs in and says, boo-hoo, my jockey outdid me and I can't find anybody to ride superstitious. And then the guy says, let me at him. I wish you could, but you're too heavy. How into a jockey suit, and if you make a mile in 1:40, the job is yours. Kind of crazy. And then the guy gets on a horse. I'll never make it to the time at this place. And hooray, VA broke the track record. He had wings to fly there. So anyway, the funnies are kind of interesting. Let's see another one here. Daylongs, I say play one of them. What do you want me to play today? And the guy says, well, lay down, Sam. Horrible record. Say, what's the matter with this ukulele? No down? No, don't play Lovin' Sam. Anyway, it's really interesting with these comics and so forth. But what I want to read to you, or you look at here, is, my goodness, Capitol throng honor Harding. And this is how it looks here. His widow bears up bravely at funeral. And if you want to buy this paper from me, it's 2 cents. See that 2 cents up here? That's what it is. So anyway, a mere 2 cents for this newspaper. By the way, I was reading an article here that they raised their prices on milk from 8 cents to 13 cents per quart. Them poor cows, I don't know what they do with them. Just charge that little itty bitty bit of money is for the birds. The article here where I said I wanted to sue them is boys in khaki guard Marion. Not Marion me, but Marion the city in San Francisco. I wish I was that popular. They'd have to guard for me. 100,000 people were expected to show up. And it says here, Marion, Ohio, 3,000 youths in khaki were gathering in Marion today, adding a touch of military color to preparation and touch of ministry color to prepare in case of a problem. And then another article here, right near there, says, movie star gets death sentence. Whoa, a movie star getting a death sentence? What transpired there? Well, the article is all about this very big elephant. And they couldn't shoot him, they couldn't hang him, too heavy to hang. But they had to put him to death because he was a menace to the trainers and so forth. So it says here, movie star gets death sentence. It catches your eye. What kind of a movie star? It's an elephant, of all things. Crazy, huh? And here is the newspaper, the article that I want you to really see. It talks about the Russian Hill mystery. And in this Russian Hill mystery, I'd heard about it even to this day, but not in the details like they talk about in here. But you can get $50 in prizes. This would be a surprise if I went to the newspaper in San Francisco and said, hey, I want my prize money in here. I know the answers because they don't have a date when they stop, you know. They probably throw me out feet first or maybe head first, one way or the other, but that's the article in there. It also shows, look at these bargains today. Ladies' wool tuxedo sweaters, wool sleeve sweaters and so forth, a mere $1.29. The top one there is $1.98. That's expensive now. Get into that. So there you go on that beautiful article. Okay. Here's a new article. These papers is a Monday and a Wednesday issue, way back in 1923. And new cabinet runs Germany. And you notice a subheadline there, plot to kill Mary Minter is bared. Everybody knows Mary Minter, that is if you were born in 1923. So she survived, thank goodness. So let me read some more to you about what is in here because it's so interesting. I don't know where to start with this, but this one here, second firm clips price of milk here. I think I told you about that. They reduced it from 13 cents to 8 cents. I guess that's per gallon. It must be. But I do feel sorry for those poor cows that are not being treated as well as they should. That's why the prices are cheap. Well, maybe not. But nonetheless, that's pretty cheap for milk. Read a couple of 3 article head-on here. Other man is named by hubby in a divorce situation. They're talking here about the man blaming the woman blaming the man, etc., etc. And she said she ran out before he could beat her up. And that's way back in 1923. Still had little problems like that. Germany will stop payments, it says here. Payments for what? I'll read that one real fast for here. Germany has decided to stay away from paying bills to England and Berlin and so forth and so on. Anyway, those are some interesting articles. And as I mentioned before, you know, if you want to order this paper, you can write me and send me 2 cents. And you'll be having a paper. Don't we wish? You know, by the way, these old papers that I've got here is awesome because at one time, my father saved these before. My father happened to be a county sheriff way back in Albuquerque or Belen, New Mexico. And he had quite a life himself. And my uncle, who was also a sheriff, got hit in the head with a rock. He fell, hit a curb, and they killed him. It was quite an awesome thing. And I remember even to this date, you know, when he passed away and everybody was in sorrow and so forth. So he was quite involved with what went on. Only 202 Civil War veterans left in the city. 202 Civil War veterans left in the city. That's something else they're talking about here for the Civil War people who survived. I interviewed not too long ago here on this station a 99-year-old man who was helping in the situation where they had the funeral at one time for, let's see, who was it that we were talking about? Not Hardy. Anyway, he was involved with that. And then we talked about how many survivors there were. He was a survivor himself. 99 years old, by the way. Maybe I'll have him on our program again sometime. He was really an interesting person, had a good personality, and really liked to talk. So he was quite a man to interview. Another article here, man fires on his pursuers. Well, this was an article, and as I read some of these, I think, wow, I read something like that here the other day. And here's another guy who fired on his pursuers. And he, fortunately, it says here, he didn't kill anybody, but he sure shot his gun at him. And this one here, Civil War veteran, friend of scores of famous men. And this guy, Jim Marvin, Civil War veterans, General Jim they call him, was a celebrity himself because of his service in the Army and so forth. So, a lot of articles on that. And here's one that we all know who Rin Tin Tin was, or do you? Let me show you the paper and a picture of Rin Tin Tin. See the little doggy here? Right there, I just covered him. Rin Tin Tin. He was a famous war dog, you know, and that's quite a deal for him to be aware. Anyway, Rin Tin Tin was the hero for many children. And even I remember Rin Tin Tin because his legacy went on. And that was quite a deal. You have old-time beer and weekend roundup. Boy, those old-time beers. I remember as a young kid, you know, I didn't drink the beer, of course, but I could see the older dudes hopping around, grabbing beer here and there and so forth. And it was quite a deal. I know that my mother was strictly against it. I remember that. Not just for us, but even for her hubby, my father, drinking beer. They don't like it at all. Now, let me read another headline for you, too. New cabinet runs Germany. Check this out. New cabinet running Germany. Can you imagine that? And I'm not even sure who's running Germany right now. And the chancellor forced out by radicals. There's another article about moving in on people who are running the government and so forth. So that's quite a deal there. There's so many things here to read to you, but I want to zero in on some things that you would like. I like this one, of course. Boys in khaki guard Marion. That's me. That's what I was kidding you about in suing them, but I can't sue them. It's too far back. 1923, my goodness. They did it way before I was born, so I can't sue them for using my name. But maybe they'll sue me, so I got to watch out there for using their name. All right, let's go over here to the more fun parts here, and that is into the funnies. Okay, let's find the funnies again here. Okay, well, I've lost the funnies already in this. As you can see, all the papers I have here, monstrous amount of papers here. And, oh, I love to see these prices that they have on different foods. And, of course, there's no way to compare them, certainly, but it's pretty awesome. And here's the funnies I'm talking about. I had buried them a little bit, but here they are. Check it out again there. That's the funnies. Let me read you another one of those because I got a kick out of them. They're just so right on to it. This guy is looking at a fellow sitting on the toilet of all places, in the outside toilet, and he says, "I don't get it." Is he looking at him? what is so far to not get it? She won't tip over when he sneezes, and that's the outhouse he's in. And the guy keeps sneezing there. The old crossing watchman doesn't expect to be upset with his hay fever this year. Okay. One more of these funny books that I got to read to you because it's so crazy. This guy says, big, you call that big? Why not? Where I come from, and the next picture shows him, he throws him out. Right down here. There you go, right there. Anyway, so much on the funnies. Let's put that aside here. One thing, it really interested me in this paper, where this new cabinet runs Germany. My goodness, all the things that are going on at this time and what have you, it's amazing, some of the similar kind of things, but different people, of course, obviously. But new cabinet runs Germany. Chancellor forced out by radicals. I think we have a few radicals running around loose, even here in the United States. And we have to keep track of that. The newspaper does a great job for us on that. And then here's another neat article, which is called Bonus on Babies is Plan of Professor. Now this is really interesting. I got to show you this. Bonus on Babies is Plan of Professor. Well, what does he mean by that? I got to read that to you because it is kind of a crazy deal. Pool instead of raises plan. And you've heard all this stuff going on these days with even Trump saying something about abortions and what have you, and getting in the middle of all that stuff. And that's really a controversial subject, whether a mother has the right to let go of the baby she is to be bearing in her body. Can she do anything to get rid of that legally so? Well, let's see what it says here. A bonus on babies. Solution of a growing problem is advanced by Dr. Paul Douglas, professor of industrial relations of Chicago University, who suggests that of a pool from a financing wages in each community so that an amount could be drawn out of help support each new baby. So they're talking about helping women out that are having the babies. It's not talking about whether they should or shouldn't. It's just they decide they have it or don't. It's their own choice. Of course, that's what many people are arguing about now. Why should anybody say you can or can have your baby or not? If you wish to not have the baby, then that's the way it should be. The person making her mind up should be the person having the baby. Anyway, that's a controversial thing that was going on way back in 1923. I got to read you another couple of articles here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you already got this one, the other side. Okay, where ribbons trail their silken glory. And here it talks about women and their choices they make and what have you. And one of the things that was kind of interesting here that I was reading, it's called Sister Mary's Kitchen by Sister Mary. Anyway, she talks about cooking food and what have you and how and when and so forth. And I know we do a lot of that in the television now, and even in newspaper they talk about different combinations of different foods you can make to really have quite a meal. The Adventures of the Twins, the Superlative Infant. And this one has to do with, please go out and count noses, said King Snickum to Nick. Go out and count all the peewees and see if they are here. Will you? Yeah. That's the Adventures of the Twins. It's these little superlative little infants that are in the headlines, and whether they should be doing what they're doing or not. All right, one more article here that I wanted you to see was, I got it kind of buried here. I already read the one to you about Marion, the city in San Francisco, and right next to it is Harding death was predicted. This is the one of the headlines I showed you about Harding and when he passed away. And here's what it says about that. And forecast sudden passing of executive. Astrologists forecast the sudden death. But she was immovable, steadfast in her tragic forecast. He cannot recover, she said. He'll be dead by Friday. Anyway, she made that prediction, and lo and behold, he did pass away. I've become kind of involved, too, in a person who is a psychic. And he talks about healing by psychic power. And that, to me, is pretty awesome. If you can help somebody heal with your own desires, your own feelings, your own output of energy, that you can help heal somebody. That is really fantastic, because I certainly know some people who can use that help, and I want to become involved in that. But of course, you know, when you talk about psychic stuff, it's sort of far out there, and you wonder, you know, is it real, or is somebody just pulling your leg again? But I read this book, Stuart Ford is his name, and he wrote a book on this, and it's amazing what things he's done. And he made a lot of sense in his talk, because in psychic healing, it's not just saying, here, you will do this, you won't do this, or you'll feel that, or whatever. He allows the person to get into the realm. And when I say the realm, that is the energy that is in the atmosphere. And you know darn well there's energy flowing through your system, your atmosphere, and so forth. And if you can somehow direct that energy and help it to heal yourself or someone that you love and care about, that's pretty awesome. And I certainly could get interested in that, because I know some people very close to me who are ill, and I want to see if I can help them in any way. And if there's any way this can do it, wow, that is pretty awesome. So much on that, by the way. And then there's a daily news column that this guy writes here, and it says here, editor, Cochran, business manager, et cetera, where he talks about different things going on in the city, San Francisco. And when people advertise and so forth, he kind of takes the news about what's going on with them and so forth. And he has quite a good bit of stuff to say about that. I read this whole article, but I don't read that to you, but he talks about how they started their business, how they're making it go, and some of the problems that they have in the business that they're into. And he's really quite read into it. Okay, I read to you too about the 202 Civil War veterans left in the city. As I mentioned before, I interviewed a 99-year-old man who's a veteran of the wars from our past here. So that was quite a bit of information. Let me get into another article here in the newspaper. The one-ads are quite a thing here. As you can see this paper here, all the one-ads are on this side here. It's pretty awesome, all these one-ads that they have here and talk about. And of course I won't read you too much of this, but they're talking about homes that went up in price from $5,000 to $8,000 for a whole house. I think we can't quite match that price, but from $5,000 to $8,000, they said really high when they went to $11,000. And around $2,000 to $5,000, you could also buy a house. But of course, the money obviously was not as powerful in at this time. And as you can see here too, what does this newspaper cost? 2 mere pennies for this final pink paper. They call this a pink one. You can't see the colors there very well there, but this is a pink paper, and that's one of the ones they have on Saturday. On the weekdays, they have a regular white colored paper. So let me give you one more thing I think I have time to show you. And said here, Scots scoff at dry U.S. We're not very dry now, you know, we've had all kinds of rain. But here's what it says here about that. I'll read that real quick like too. Letter number 3, Jack Draper's part form over the drifter from holes sent by most newspapermen, because he and his ears and eyes to her and what's going on, instead of statesmen and other bigwigs. Anyway, he writes an article about the dry times they're having there. Gee, we should lend a little bit of rain to go back there. And I think what happened is they prayed so much that they get rain that now, after all these many years, we're getting it. So that's most interesting. Well, I'm going to kind of finally wrap it up for you here with a couple of things. Oh gosh, these many things is shipping, Gravenstein not in demand, and so forth. Stocks unhurt by Europeans. We're going into these stock things with China at this time, and in Europe too also. But here he's talking about unhurt by Europeans. In other words, our stocks aren't influenced very much by those particular things going on. One other thing I want to show you I have, and I'll be right back, don't worry, I'm coming right back here, is this Mentor magazine. This is just like our National Geographics now. And in this magazine, they talk about the problems they've had there. This is way back in 1928, by the way. And these I want to share with you too. The Mentor magazine, it's called. And the most interesting articles here, one had to do with Galahad of the Sunday Comics, idyllic Sweden, the cathedral arches and Visbys. Things I hadn't heard about, but it's pretty awesome what they're doing there. And I want to show you one more thing. It has nothing to do with this, by the way, and perhaps maybe it does in some way. But I'm working with a place called the Free Wheelchair Mission. And what I have had help do is send wheelchairs to Mexico, Australia. 550 are sent at one time. I help facilitate this, and I'm helping to facilitate it so that we get them to Cuba and Afghanistan are my two next goals. And 550 will be sent to each country. By the way, we too in the U.S. need wheelchairs also, I've been finding out. And this Free Wheelchair Mission is on television too. You can get it at freewheelchairmission.com and find out what it's all about too. So with that, I will now conclude, and I will see you all maybe next Wednesday. Thank you very much for listening, and it's all my pleasure to present these things to you. Adios, folks.